Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's time for a little Overreaction Monday action here on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum, and that is Anwar Richardson. Buckle up. We'll be with you for the next hour-ish or so talking about a million things related to Texas football. So jump in, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, get notifications, jump into the Specs chat, comment away. We always appreciate those things. Anwar, so many places where we can begin. And by the way, special shout out to our guys over at Rogue Shop. It's holiday season.
Yes, it
we
is.
Can't do this show without our sponsors, and Rogue Shop may be our favorite sponsor. Go to the website right now, check out all of the Christmas offers that they have, and hook up your friends and family and loved ones and hated ones all at the same time with a gift that literally keeps on giving.
It does.
Anwar, we're still 2 weeks away from the portal opening up and Texas football really getting what it hopes is under the Christmas tree in a few days. It'll just roll up all of its needs into what happens when the portal opens up. It really, the game is 9 days away or whatever it is. And yet
what game?
The focus is on what happens when the portal opens up. What will it look like? What players will they target? There's already been a lot of talk about running back. Kind of curiously enough, that is the one position where names are being rumored and there's some real good scuttlebutt taking place. Not so much elsewhere. Let's just start it here for you in the portal. This portal window is a failure if ... Go.
Texas doesn't get at least 4 offensive linemen in the portal. I'll start there, right? Because if I start there, I can work my way out to other things. But why I say 4, Catch, we've seen Texas attack the defensive line, and they have no problem bringing in a multitude of guys. They just stack them, right? And you're just like, damn, they signed another defensive lineman, another interior. It's all interior guys, right? It just, they're not really going after edge guys. It's all interior. And for me, Catch, that's where it is. Like 4, fine. 3, I'll settle on. 2, they better be some bad mofos. But I'm saying, like, at this point, when you got 105 scholarships that you can extend to, Catch, it starts and ends there, because you got to give Arch Manning better protection than you gave him in 2025. That's just paramount, okay? And some of the struggles that Arch had was directly correlated to the offensive line. Like, yeah, it's hard to feel like you can sit back and be comfortable and complete a pass if you feel like you're going to get your head knocked off. And to some of the running backs' defense, Catch, yeah, they could have done better, but when you're getting a handoff and somebody else is in the backfield and they can take the handoff as well, that's problematic. And when I think of the receivers, Catch, I'm like, well, yeah, I want more from them. But if it's a slow developing play and Arch doesn't have time to throw, well, I don't know how much to blame them. So for me, Catch, if you don't get stacked, especially it's more so the interior, more so than I'm thinking about Trevor Gooseby or Brandon Baker. They don't stack that position, then it's an absolute failure. An absolute failure for me.
I feel like if Brandon Harris and Steve Sarkisian were watching the show right now, they would go, that's fair. That's fair. We got it wrong last year. The offensive line from a returning as bad as it was this year, it gets worse if they don't bring in some real reinforcements. So I think that's fair. I think anybody inside the program would listen to that and go, Anwar, not an overreaction. I wonder if my answer to the same question would be viewed exactly the same, okay, or if I'm going to be viewed as like, oh, there's that crazy Catch just asking for unrealistic things again.
Let's see. I'm here for it.
This portal window will be a failure if they don't sign a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 4 or 5 offensive linemen, a couple of interior defensive linemen, probably an edge guy, 4 linebackers, a couple of corners, probably a couple of safeties, a punter, and a kicker. And then any other depth that they can find to boost all of those positions.
And a partridge in a pear tree, Chris.
Catch. Well, let me ask you this. I should have asked this before I answered the question. What's the goal next year?
This team's got to get back to the playoffs, Catch.
Is that the goal? Or is that the minimum level of success that signifies a mere level of minimum level of accomplishment that can be gained in order for the season to be called a success?
Yes and yes.
So what's the goal?
The goal for me, listen, we know what the ultimate goal is.
What do you think the goal is for Sark? I guess that's the only thing that matters.
Well, I think Sark would tell you that, getting to the SEC championship would be the goal, because if you get to the SEC championship game, you're going to automatically be in the playoffs, right? So so that part probably he would say is the goal, where he's always talked about competing for championships. And look, everybody says they want to compete for a national title. All right, whatever. I'm talking about what the realistic goals are. He probably would say that. When you go to back-to-back championship games and you don't sniff it this year, he would probably say that. I would say, now look, there's a couple of things. There's a couple of ways you could put this, Catch. You could say the goal is to have a team that's better than Georgia. So when you face Georgia in the SEC championship game, not in the regular season, but you face Georgia in the SEC championship game, you've got a team that can compete against that team.
I mean, he just got rid of Pete Kwiatkowski for Will Muschamp because he wants to beat Georgia. Isn't that the goal? Like, the goal is to beat Georgia and Ohio State.
Georgia and Ohio State, right? If you want to say that, because if you say, and listen, Catch, I'll rock with you, because if you say that, well, then you probably beat everybody else on your schedule. If you're saying, hey, we get past Ohio State and Georgia in the championship game, we got a team that can do that, then the Tennessees of the world, the Ole Misses of the world, like everybody else you have, those are beatable teams at that point.
I mean, if the goal is to make the playoffs and be good enough to get to the semifinals, then I probably will revise my mission statement. Mm-hmm. But if the goal is to beat Ohio State and or Georgia, and maybe both of them in the same year to get to where you ultimately want to get, there's a lot of work to be done. And I think like one of the positions you and I will talk about is wide receiver, because I know why you listed that as an item further down the list of needs. Because they do. So next year, I mean, they'll return a lot more experience. Ryan Wingo seems to have at least found another gear. Arch Manning has thrown passes to the likes of Parker Livingston and Mosley in games. Like, that's a credible place to begin building the passing attack from. But is the goal to beat Ohio State and Georgia? Is it just to be in the playoffs? Because if it's just to be in the playoffs, you can probably run that back. And because the goal is to beat Georgia or Ohio State, I look at what they have at that side of the ball and I go, that's not even close to what they've had when they've not beaten Georgia. They've got to boost that side of the ball. And so is it as important as offensive line? No. But can they, in my mind, go through the entire offseason and not add a real speed element in the passing game? Quite frankly, they need somebody to replace potentially DeAndre Moore. And I just can't grandfather Dalen McCutcheon into that role because he's next. That's kind of how they got here in the first place. They were like, DeAndre Moore is next. Is he elite? Is he great? Is he going to make NFL plays? No, but he's next. And they've done that for the last 2 years. So to me, there's a number of positions where I just look at it, and corner's another where I go, do you know if you can definitely beat Ohio State and Georgia if you come back with what's scheduled to return? And if the answer is even, I don't know, then you got to go get something to compete at that spot. And I think we're seeing them do it at running back. They've got Derek Cooper coming in. And yet all signs point to them going, regardless of what Trey Wisner does or anybody else, we're going to get a guy in the portal. That seems to be an early mission statement. If they're doing it at running back, then to me, you can do it everywhere because they've got Trey Wisner sprinkled all over this team where you could justifiably say, well, that guy's good against Oklahoma, and that guy kicked ass against A&M, and that guy was first team all SEC in the preseason. He just didn't have an offensive line. We're good. We get that guy some more offensive linemen, and he'll be really, really good. And instead, it seems like they, at least in some areas, seem to be indicating, no, we need to go get some difference makers. And I hope they're that aggressive, sprinkled all over the field, because I think that's how you beat Ohio State.
So let me ask you this. For you, the number one priority is what?
I mean, they're not even competent next year without offensive line help. I mean, they will not go 9-3 next year if they just come back with what they've got. Let me put it to you like this. DJ Campbell won't be here next year. But if DJ Campbell had opted out of this game, I would not have even played Arch Manning. That's how little I would trust the offensive line. You're telling me that I got to play Michigan with Nate Kibble out there at right guard? Like, they really are at a stress point where they don't have functional backups, truly. Guys that they would be like, okay, we know what it looks like at the other guard spot. Nick Brooks, go back out there. Like, they just need a lot. They need bodies. They need depth. They need starters. And if they don't, then they will have wasted the Arch Manning era in ways that cannot fully be calculated, because they wasted this season by making the mistake at that position. For all of the don't schedule Ohio State, don't do this, got to do this. Man, if they just gone out and got a couple of replacement level grown-up ass men to play in the offensive line.
Yeah.
They're in the playoffs. They're in the quarterfinals right now, because they were clearly, to my naked eye, better than Alabama, Oklahoma, A&M, and Miami. Like, there wasn't one of those teams I watched this weekend where I was like, oh, Texas probably shouldn't be at home, right? No, we watched those teams and thought, they beat two of those teams pretty soundly, and yeah. I was not impressed. And it was like, I know this. I thought Arch Manning was a hell of a lot better than a lot of the guys that I watched play this weekend at quarterback. And yet, a couple of smarter decisions, not related to anything that actually happened on the field, GM stuff, coaching stuff, selection stuff, filling needs. They didn't look at that offensive line last year and ask themselves, is this good enough to beat Ohio State or Georgia? Because if they had, there's no way they sit there with the pat hand. I don't understand how they even got there, but they have to attack the offensive line like they have defensive tackle for each of the last 2 years. Lavon Johnson, like, that guy didn't even play this year. And they had another one of those last year with Sevilla, right? Where it was like, he just kind of redshirted. And the guy from Arizona went back to Arizona, and who knows, maybe this guy, maybe he leaves as well. But they signed enough guys that if they didn't all pan out, we're good. Travis Shaw didn't really pan out. It's okay. They took a bunch of guys. They took a bunch of guys that Travis Shaw could kind of be a dud. No worries. We're okay. They got to do that at the offensive line.
You know, I think, Catch, they fell into a trap, I think, which was telling yourself and priding yourself on, the position we don't really ever have to attack in the transfer portal, offensive line. Because you know what we do here? Man, we develop guys. And so you tell yourself, man, we'll just develop dudes, as if replacing 3 draft picks is just that easy, right? It's like, nah, man, you know what? Pregnon wants how much? Man, guess what? How about this? Hold my beer. Have you seen Connor Stroh? And it's like, should we? And no disrespect, but it's kind of like, that's how they took that thing. Like, man, we'll just develop these guys. We're good. And it's interesting because They didn't really do that at all the other positions. They didn't do that at receiver. They didn't do that at the defensive line positions. They've gone after tight ends before in the past, right? And hell, they even came off that whole we're not going after a quarterback in the portal, and it got Matthew Caldwell.
Well, they did get Quinn Ewers in the portal.
Technically, you're right. 100%, right? That does count. So even that, and there was that one position, they were like, nah, I'm good. And that pride that we're good end up biting them in the ass, because at the end of the day, they realize pretty quickly, no, they're not good. In fact, it's actually kind of bad. And it was the one thing that you told yourself, you've got Arch Manning getting ready to launch. You've got to give him all the bells and whistles, man. This ain't the time to get, confident. That's the guy that you want to make sure is taken care of. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again. It was a huge mistake. It was
Here's
a bad
the thing, though. I don't blame Kyle. Well, look, the Kyle Flood thing for me, because he's turned into a code word of sorts.
Yeah.
There are some people who believe that no matter what Steve Sarkisian does, if he doesn't get rid of Kyle Flood, he didn't take making change offseason. Like, seriously. I don't think that's completely fair, because I think there's a nuanced conversation to have about Kyle Flood. And I ultimately, let's start with like the part that I don't blame him for.
Okay.
He shouldn't be in a position to dictate what Texas does from a personnel standpoint. He's just a position coach. He's a co-OC and a position coach, but that's why you have a general manager. That's why you have a head coach. That's why NFL teams have general managers and personnel guys and salary cap people. There's like separation for clarification. And the one thing that can't happen, we can't be making decisions based on feels, right? Well, I told Connor Stroh that next year would be his big year. I promised him. I don't give a fuck what you promise anybody. If he plays really, really, really well, guess what? He'll make good on his promise to you.
Yeah.
But the only thing I'm promised to do is to make sure we have the best players possible on the field at every position at all times. I do not blame Kyle Flood. He was wrong. Whatever he told Steve Sarkisian was wrong, but there wasn't an adult in the room with that conversation. There wasn't anybody who went, okay, wait a minute. Who are we counting on next year?
Mm-hmm.
You know who our quarterback is, right? You know what we've done each of the last 2 seasons, right? Let me ask again. Who are we depending on?
Yeah.
How much have they played? Hey, Coach Flood, I don't mean to bring this up, but I read on Orange Bloods, that Ketchum guy. I know. I didn't.
That guy.
But the thing you're talking about, we need to do, I read in his article, you haven't done it in a decade since you were at Rutgers. What is it that you want us to do? Because you do know that at Alabama, this is not what they did. They didn't have Connor Stroh. They had some 5-stars that weren't on the field where it was like, well, I guess we need to let Alex Leatherwood play this year. I mean, it was different. It was different.
Yeah.
So I don't blame him for that. This is where, if Steve Sarkisian's going to be the de facto general manager, better get it right. Don't go to your assistant. You need to know. You're the head coach. You need to know what your offensive line needs, and I don't need you blaming the defensive coordinator needing a smidge of counsel on it not getting done. And this is where, if the head coach can't do it, the general manager needs to do it. There was nobody around last year to go, we can't do that. And I don't blame Kyle Flood for that. Now, I give Kyle Flood credit for Trevor Goosby. It's one of the best. Kyle Goosby could go pro this year and be a first-round draft pick. That is an unbelievable developmental job by Kyle Flood, who took, depending on how you graded Trevor Goosby, he was either a high 3-star or a low 4-star or somewhere kind of in there, but a guy that arrives with a 75, 80% failure stamp on him when he shows up, and that guy's played lights out. I give him credit for Brandon Baker. If those 2 guys return healthy, Texas has the best pair of offensive tackles in the league to begin the season. There will be nobody that's better than Trevor Goosby and Brandon Baker starting the year. So, like, all right, Kyle Flood. Now, about the inside guys, it's just an absolute disaster. And it didn't have to be. If Kyle Flood had simply been vetoed, if there had been a grown-up that said, Sark, can't do it. Can't do it. What did you tell me? I know. I did the thing, coach, where I questioned you and I could lose my job for that. But I'm here for a reason, right? You can't do that. If they just bring in 2 average offensive linemen who are 21, 22 years old, you know what we're saying about Kyle Flood this year? He did a great job with the offensive line. He did a great job. The tackles were great by the end of the season. They were okay inside. You know what that would make them? One of the better offensive lines in the SEC. But they didn't listen to someone else. They listened to Flood, who Sark apparently was like, Kyle Flood.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Sark is in charge of this offense.
That's what I'm saying. Sark.
Like how much?
That's why I don't blame Flood. It's Sark.
I was gonna say, like at the end of the day, Sark's the OC. He's the play caller. He's the guy that I think the buck stops with him. I don't think
no doubt.
I think Kyle Flood has that much veto power.
That's what I'm saying. I don't blame him for what happened this year.
Yeah, like I look at it, I'm like, well, Sark, this is your offense. Like, this is what happens when you say you want to be the play caller. You want all these things. You looked at it, and Sark was like, we're good. I'll have that guy these guys protect my quarterback, and we'll be fine. So, hey, Flood, you just developed them. And by the way, it was there had to be a decision at some point to say, you know what? Let's put Nick Brooks out there. And it's not Nick Brooks' fault. So we're clear. I don't get mad at babies for crying.
That's like playing Quinn Ewers yesterday. Like, you're putting a 7th round rookie on the field. It doesn't matter what his name is. That guy probably shouldn't be starting in an NFL game yet. And by the way, kudos to Quinn Ewers. I thought he was more credible than any other player on that Dolphins team yesterday.
That Dolphins team is horrible.
They are gone. Look, Quinn, I just want Quinn to get through these next 2 games healthy because those dudes are on the beach, man, with the Cowboys.
Yeah, if I'm McDaniel, I'm taking things out of my desk just over the next week or so, just in case. Like I don't need HR coming to me and then they're like, we're going to pack you up and mail your stuff. Like,
that dude will get a job fast, though.
He will.
Does he deserve it? Like, just real quick sidebar.
Yeah.
What do we think of Mike McDaniel? Because I thought, it feels like he had a weird, like, he's cool factor, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of substance behind it feels like he wants to be Kyle Shanahan and isn't.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day,
he's group on Kyle Shanahan.
I mean, at the end of the day, this team is 6-9. I mean, he's had like a couple of winning seasons, but it's really not that great. I mean, they've been good 1 year. He's okay, but he's in year 4. So at some point, I mean, you kind of are who you are as a coach. And he's in year 4.
If Tua's head doesn't get cracked 10 times badly.
Potentially.
Tua's just not like he's just like Sam ultimately wasn't quite good enough to like take Tom Herman where he wanted to go. And sometimes, coaches, and I think Sam might look at it and go, I was saddled with Tom Herman. If I'd had a chance to play with Steve Sarkisian for 4 years, I think I won a national championship. Like, fair enough. But I think Tom might, in retrospect, look back and go, he just wasn't quite that, right? Sometimes you're stuck with who you're stuck with, and that's just how it kind of goes. And I think what's important for Texas, and to bring it back to the Longhorns, and really beyond the offensive line, because I think we've hit that nail hard. Like, Go get some offensive linemen by any means necessary. If you have to kidnap this year's Emmanuel Pregnon, old school, like Barry Switzer and the Sooners used to do with recruits on signing days to make sure that they get signed. You do what you got to do, but go get you some offensive linemen.
Yeah.
Now what? Where else? Because I think they've even got to get a quarterback. And it's only like a Matthew Caldwell type of quarterback. And part of it is because they don't have walk-ons anymore. So they literally only have 3 quarterbacks on campus unless they grandfather some of the walk-ons that they already had on the team that don't need to be grandfathered on. Like they do need to go get this year's Matthew Caldwell, who's like 3rd string, and just make sure that Diabell gets to redshirt if they need him to. But that's a baby thing. That's not like the biggest thing in the world. But I do think that it's a need. I don't think there's a position they have a 1. On a 1 to 5 with low, they ain't got to go get nobody. There's nowhere that I think they're at a 1. And I might have thought quarterback was a 1 last year. And then I didn't know that Owens was just going to not.
So, I mean, it's either I would say for me, number 2 at that point, catch linebackers. Is there – hey, look, that room, there's a lot of room to spread out in that linebacker meeting room, dude. I mean, there's a lot of room. There's a lot of empty chairs. Listen,
I think they've only got 2 on scholarship right now.
When they – listen, that plane ride to Orlando – man, nobody's in the middle seat, catch. Everybody's either on the window or the aisle. There's a lot of room to stretch
They've got 3. They've got 3 because they moved the Marshall Landauer kid up to scholarship.
Yes. See, he got a scholarship before the season.
You've got him.
You've got
Ty Anthony Smith.
And you've got
Bo Barnes.
Bo Barnes.
And that's it, man. That's your linebacker room right now.
I mean, catch.
And one of those dudes is a walk-on senior out the door.
And by the way, played great on special teams, by the way. Very, very standout on special teams. And I'm cool with him getting a chance here. But yes, he's out the door after this year. This would be his shining moment. I mean, Sark's son has to play in the damn bowl game at this point, right?
Bo Barnes hasn't played at all this year. This is where like the glorified scrimmage element of the game that you've been talking about, like just get your reps. I will say in a perfect get your 2026 guys as much playing time in this as you can. Leon LaFau did Texas a favor, and Trey Moore kind of as well. Like they have cleared out the paint. Those dudes are not playing next year. They're going to need Ty Anthony Smith to be great. So there you go, Ty Anthony. You get all the game. You get all the reps at linebacker in this game. And kind of the same for Bo Barnes, who redshirted, but gets to play unlimited in this game without this game impacting that status. Get a real good look at like what Bo Barnes is ready to do or not do in this game. And like, I think it won't be pretty all the time, but they need to find out as best they can about some of these dudes. And you're right, man. I don't even know what because
if you're Muschamp
loves linebackers. Like he
does. That's the linebacker coach. And like, imagine he's like, okay, so how many guys do I have in my linebacker room? It's like 2. You're like, what? Wait, what?
He's gonna go because he's observing during the bowl game, right? He'll go sit in the linebacker room with Nansen. Be like, are your guys tardy? Like the first thing we gotta do is get these dudes to show up on time, coach. He's like, no, you don't understand. They're all here. They're all here early. Or they're going to confuse the GA for the players. Which of these guys are these are the G. This is all we got? That's all we got, coach.
Hey, that white elephant thing for the linebacker room is that white elephant gift exchange is going to be
Nance's like, I got my position group's Christmas dinner. It's like 3 guys. He took them to get steaks and the bill was under $100. So, all right. So look, linebackers, yes. And look, probably some dudes that have to be good.
Yes. Especially for that system that Muschamp wants to run, right? I mean, like he does rely a little bit on those linebackers. And whatever you think of what Colin Simmons may or may not be, like they just don't have bodies. Catch at the end of the day, they have to have functional SEC caliber bodies. Like you can't just take the risk on. All right, we've got this guy from a G5 program. Let's see what he does. No, they need starters. Catch. They need upperclassmen who are starters at that position because they don't have bodies there. They didn't have a ton of bodies going into the season, and they ain't got nobody right now.
By the way, I just wanted to take a moment. I was looking at Rogue Shop's logo. They got the advent calendar on the website. This is what I got going on today.
Ooh, oh, okay. Northern Lights is what that says.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I'm not just an endorser of the product. I'm a user. I never found a hair place that would let me do that.
Yeah, it's like I'm not only the client, I'm the president.
That's exactly right. Not quite, but dreams. Squad goals, Anwar. Squad goals.
Yeah, we'd have to do a whole lot to open up our own rogue place. We'd have to really hit it on Prize Picks to get that.
Hey, thank you to Quinn Ewers, by the way.
Yes, he paid off.
That's gonna pay for Christmas dinner.
Dude, when we said Quinn, take the more. And you were like, I don't know who to pair that with. I was like, Darren Waller. You got the Darren Waller, and then you took the Alabama kicker.
He killed it. He had that by the end of the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, you were good. You were good to go.
Yes. I hit on 2 out of 3 of my $50 Quinn plays.
Uh-huh.
So it was like $550-ish total for like a 150 outlay. I was happy with that.
Yeah. Thank you, Quinn.
Thank you, Quinn.
Yes.
For those of you who were like, Quinn, I was first career start, hammer the more. I was right.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, thank you for the Darren Waller combo with that. He hit as well. And he hit that early. I love it when guys hit like the Alabama kicker.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't have to worry about that the rest of the game midway through the second quarter. It was like, got that dusted off. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So we got O-line, linebacker for sure, right? Like, because, okay, so then
you got to me, there's a tie. They need a badass running back. They need a badass wide receiver. I think they need a badass corner. I am like, look, the season ended, and I know Sark called out and gave Kobe Black a shout out, but Kobe Black had been banished to the bench right before he got his shout out. I don't know what they really think of Kobe Black. Cade Phillips, they think is going to be an absolute stud.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not deep at corner right now with guys that I think you can have a lot of confidence in. And we know that when they lost Malik Muhammad for just a little bit this season, the season went upside down. This season, they're probably still playing right now. If Manny Muhammad is not injured for the Florida game, these seasons are decided by such narrow margins. And there's another one where maybe if that one thing flips, Texas could be playing right now, maybe even at home, like it'd be 10-2, so they wouldn't be playing at home. Everything else would still go the same, but they beat everybody they would have played this weekend, and they'd be getting ready for a quarterfinal matchup with, I think, a quarterback in an offense, to be fair, that was ascending in the last couple of games, I guess. Mm-hmm. I say that with like a capital or a lowercase a. Arch kept getting better and better and better. Maybe that's a little too much. The running game never really ascended other than an occasional A&M or Oklahoma performance. I think they need corner. I think they're probably okay from a starter standpoint at defensive tackle and edge. If you can find another Brad Spence type guy that boosts your depth, cool. But I don't know that they need to spend a ton of money there. They're going to go get a badass running back. Like if they don't, after what's been whispered to me, I will be like, wow, you guys swung and missed, huh? Because, I've heard big names. I think a guy like Kawan Lacey, this isn't even like sharing anything crazy. This kid's name is a constant in the rumor mill and speculation for the portal, that guy's going to be in the portal as soon as that Ole Miss season is over. And so, like, how thirsty is Texas to go get the guy that I think they thought C.J. Baxter was going to be and just never was? I think they're stunned that didn't work out better. I think it's a big reason why they didn't. Again, it's not show friends, it's show business. I think they looked at C.J. Baxter a year ago and they thought, well, we paid this kid some money. We told this kid he was going to be a star in this offense. Like, we have to be loyal to him. Let him come back. Let him come back and win the job. Okay, but like, you can't put all your eggs in one or two baskets, which is what they did too much of this year. I love the notion that Wisner may come back, Derek Cooper is coming in, and they still feel like they need to do something else that is a different mentality than the one that existed a year ago. And here's hoping they complete the mission, because I do think they need somebody that can make a dude miss.
Yeah.
And they need somebody to get tough yards. They are not set at running back. They would be wise to let somebody be an unnamed player be the A, let Cooper be the B, and let Wisner be your third down all-purpose. Some days you can give that dude 20 carries. Some days you might give him 5. Like, let him be your jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife, which is kind of what they recruited him to be when he was a hybrid wide receiver running back in the first place. He's not the lead running back on a team that plays for a national championship. He's just not. And the inconsistency with which he's played within each of the last 2 years, I think, is one of the reasons why they would potentially be looking for a big name. I don't get the sense that you think they necessarily, because of the presence of Cooper, do you think they should spend $1.5 million on a running back?
Yes.
Okay. Then you and I are in agreement.
Yes. Yes. I put that as a 5 on my list.
Maybe I just misread it. My bad.
No. I put that as a 5 on my list. Like, that is urgent for me. I think you can bring in 2 guys. The thing was, when we watched Jaden Ball this season, as an example, I know a lot of people are trying to, put the Jaluk and Ball thing together. The thing that made Ball so good in that game was that he just made guys miss catch. That's what you looked at and you're like, yes, that's what Texas needs. They need a guy who can make somebody miss even when the offensive line isn't that great. And we don't think of Florida as a fantastic offensive line or anything like that, but we saw Ball.
Sometimes you need a guy to turn a negative 4-yard loss into a 1-yard gain.
Correct. So for me, to your point, if Texas wants to be first of all, we know, you and I have talked about this for years, that Sark loves to have his 1,000-yard backs, right? He prides himself. He will tell you, I always have a 1,000-yard back. He had 2 running backs this year that didn't combine for 1,000. 2 of them. So at the end of the day, Texas, look, I think you and I will be in agreement of this, that it's cool to say you develop guys, and it's cool to have that pride and the ego of saying, you know what, look at what we've done and look at who we develop. But at the end of the day, you don't get no trophies for that. You get trophies for winning. And so at the end of the day, put the pride aside and say, man, we need to go out and get some bad-ass folks out the portal. And if you feel like, well, we don't want to be like this program that does it and this program that does that, you've gained the numbers in your column on Sunday as far as the guys who went after the portal, what that success rate looked like versus the guys who didn't go at the portal. And yeah, there's the Georgias of the world that you wouldn't, but there's also teams that's, when we talk about work smarter, not harder, if the guys are out there, especially at the running back position, work smarter. Go ahead and get yourself a proven 1,000-yard back and bring them in, as opposed to saying, well, let's just grind all off season and the winter conditioning and the spring ball and our treacherous summer workouts, and let's see what happens in August and September. Because you can do that, but if Ohio State smacks you in the mouth and you drop a loss, now you only got one more and you probably missed the playoffs, and then you have another back-to-back kind of disappointing season.
That is the scary thing about that Ohio State game, is that it sucks to be, it'd be like a cat losing your 7th life. You're like, oh, crap. Like, I really need to start being mindful. Like, it just sucks. For any team that loses in September now, you immediately know our margin of error is slight. Just create a next level of, I think, anxiety in a program that we'll see in college football moving forward. As long as they stay at 12 teams, you get that first loss, and it's like, okay. That's okay. It's okay. We said that about Ohio State, but then you get that second loss by the end of September, and you're like, crap. That is like in a movie when a guy's bleeding out. It's like, it's okay. I'm good. I can go on. Like at the end of the movie, that guy's dead, but for like 20 minutes, it's inspirational when he's like walking around with an open wound, talking about he's okay. But in the end, we knew when it happened. Did you see that? Jim's got a hole in the back. He's gonna die. And that's kind of what happened to Texas the day they lost in Florida. It was like, now they have to beat Georgia in Athens, and they got to beat OU, and they got to beat A&M, and they got to beat Vanderbilt, and they just stacked on top of each other. And deep down, we knew that barring something that had never happened before, and as it turns out, still hasn't happened, the season kind of died in Gainesville that night. And if you're Texas, that's this whole season has to be the season where there were about 10 things that if they don't happen the way they happen, this whole thing goes different. Any one of 10 things. And I just think if you're Sark, and I'll give you another one that's a perfect example of this. If you're Sark, you got to do whatever you can do to make sure that you get as many positive answers on all those questions as possible going into this season. Tight end's an area where I think they need to be aggressive. I know they like their young guys, but that position just missed. And I think Jack injuries maybe he comes back and plays this season. Or I used to date this girl when I was working in television at KI. She was like a college student at Concordia. And she was pretty. She was cute. She was nice. She wrote her thesis paper on religion in the movie Star Wars. She had this dog that every time I would go over there, her apartment had these gook in her eyes, and then it would get on my clothes, and it would just stink. It was okay. And in the end, she just decided, this is just okay. Let's just not see each other anymore. And I was like, that's a good idea. And the thing that I remembered most upon the breakup was like, oh, thank God I don't have to get that dog's gook on me anymore because it sucks to smell like that dog. I kind of feel like Jack Injuries in Texas might be that relationship that I had with the girl at Concordia back in the day. It was okay. He's had a good time in Austin. He's been okay for them. But in the end, in the reality, they both kind of needed and expected a little bit more out of each other than they were able to get. I don't think that need changes for Texas, whether injuries comes back or not. If he comes back, I still think they need a more dynamic athlete based on what they ask their tight ends to do than he's capable of being. I think he's a really good, solid pass-catching, limited athletic guy that can work the underneath. Like he may play in the NFL for like a half dozen years because he can do these types of things that it wasn't until the end of the season that Texas was like, okay, well, I guess we'll let you do this since you're not Gunnar Helm. They need somebody to be a little bit more like Gunnar Helm. And that's not Jack Injuries' fault. That dude caught like 100 balls at Purdue at Cal. So it's not that he's not capable of having a successful career. They just didn't mesh perfectly. And if I'm Injuries, I'm either going to the NFL or I'm probably going into the portal if that's possible and finding a school that's probably best suited for me. And I think Texas needs to look at the tight end position and go, were we happy with tight end this year? Like, really? No. Why weren't we happy? Well, we went from Jatavian Sanders to Gunnar Helm to something significantly less than that. Well, did it matter? Oh, yeah, it mattered. We didn't even have a wide receiver break, 700 yards receiving or whatever it was. What are we doing at tight end? Well, we got a bunch of young, unproven guys that we really like a lot. Yeah, man, we need to go get the best tight end we can get. Like, to me, I don't know how you come away with all of it. And if I'm Injuries, man, he's right. to pause at everything that's happened. And he's going to play in the bowl game. And you had that report going into the weekend, and it helps in this game. But I think if it's me, and I think maybe it's okay to say this. We would say this if it were the pros. Oh, this guy, we know he's a good player. And we know this coach is a good coach. Sometimes these things don't work out. It's got to be okay to say sometimes a guy that portaled in probably should have made a better decision or a different decision. And it's okay if he looks elsewhere the next time around. Texas will do the same thing. They'll go not quite what we thought, or he got injured, or he graduated, and we got to load it up and go get it again. You had tight end at a 2, right?
Yeah, I don't think I went. I think I had it. Yeah, I had it at 2. Yeah,
I think I would put it at a 4. Because who's starting against Ohio State at tight end next year?
I mean, if Andrews is gone, we're talking Nick Townsend.
That's why it's a 4. Because the first time I want Nick Townsend to be the guy that's starting at tight end for me in the offseason is after Nick Townsend's kicked some ass in games and maybe started a few. And then I go into the next offseason. It's like, well, who's the starter at tight end? And it's like, the fuck you mean who's the starter at tight end? It's the guy who's starting at tight end right now and is a total badass. And you're like, until we can talk about Nick Townsend in games being a total badass, you can't just go into it because that's what they did at too many positions last year. The old rope-a-dope, benefit of the doubt bingo game where who's playing guard? It'll be okay. Who's playing linebacker? Leonga Lafau. Is he good? No, but it'll be okay. Was he good this year? He didn't make a tackle for loss after September 13th, Anwar.
Wow.
One of your starting linebackers who played like 600 snaps, like not creating turnovers, but they didn't. They weren't aggressive. They looked at guys and they went, yeah, they'll make the next step. And this losing 3 games and not making the playoffs is what happens when you almost exclusively depend on inexperienced, unproven guys to be the guys that carry the heavy lifting. That stat of Texas, of the top 25 teams in the final playoff committee rankings, Texas had the 3rd fewest number of starts. 17% of its starts came from the portal. Georgia's at 10. They're the worst. Notre Dame's 2nd worst at 15%. Those are the 3 schools, the only 3 schools in the top 25 below 20%. Indiana was like at 67%. Texas Tech, same thing. Mm-hmm. Even Ohio State. And you know what? I think Georgia's going to win the national championship. But if they don't, and it will have now been, I guess, 3 consecutive seasons that they wouldn't have won the national championship. But really, since the beginning of the portal era, they keep getting boxed out. Ohio State's not going crazy on the portal, but they get 3 times as many starts out of the portal as Georgia, but they recruit in high school just as well as Georgia does.
Yeah.
If Georgia doesn't get it done, I'm literally going to look at what they're doing and say, Kirby, pride is one of those 7 deadlies. And you might have back-to-back national championships right now if you just gone out and spent a couple of $1 million on a couple of really good portal additions, one more of the Zachariah Branch kid from USC, but at another position. You bump that 10% up to 20%, but it's a gain in terms of quality somewhere on the field. Like, that's the type of thin margins that might hold Georgia back that Ohio State didn't get held back on. I'm watching guys play in the NFL yesterday that I'm like, yeah, Ohio State, that guy was good. that guy was good in that guy was good in the playoffs. They got that guy in the portal, and Ohio State has been a little bit more aggressive than both Texas and Georgia. And to their credit, they're the reigning national champions, and they probably have as good a chance of winning a national championship right now as anybody else. How do you handicap? Who are your top 3 favorites to win the championship right now this year of the 8 that are left?
I probably put Georgia, but because I think Tech will. I mean, I think it's a good story for them, but I don't believe in that. Georgia's one. I don't know if I'm sleeping on Indiana or not, Catch. I feel like I am, but
I think they lose to Alabama, so I'm sleeping on them.
Okay. Ohio State for sure. I don't know who's my third in that category. By the way, bracket wise, does it's
not a reseed.
Okay, all right. So those are my top 2, Catch. I don't. Everybody else, I'm just kind of like, it's cool that you're here. Old Miss is cool that you're here. Cool that you're playing. Like everybody, Miami, like cool that you're here. I'm not really banking on you though.
I kind of feel like not exactly the same thing as I felt about OU Alabama as I do Ohio State and Indiana. But I felt like and to Indiana's credit, on the day they played, they were the better team. They won that game. I'm not begrudging them. But I watched that game and kind of thought to myself, Ohio State just didn't bring his fastball today. Mm-hmm. If they played this game 10 times, I do think Ohio State beats Indiana 7 times. I think if Alabama plays Indiana cold, it's a rightful coin flip. I think Alabama has a real advantage that they just went through a playoff game, a real confidence-inducing playoff game. They will feel like an overcoming 17-0 on the road, and really then turn around and boat racing. They went on a 34-7 run like that. That's running away from a team. I think I think they're going to beat Indiana. I think Alabama may be peaking. I'm not picking Alabama to win, but I think I'd put them in my top 3. I think ultimately my top 3 right now are the 3 most talented teams left in the tournament. It's Georgia, it's Ohio State, and 3 would be Alabama. And then, maybe that's just my confirmation bias kicking in, but I watched Alabama on Friday night, and by the end of it, I was like,
yeah.
They're pretty good, actually. Like what they just did to Oklahoma was impressive. It was, because Oklahoma went in there with that, we're hard to kill. Well, no, actually, turns out you're not. You got beat 3 times, and Alabama went onto your field and really didn't have that hard of a time killing you, as it turns out. They just did it.
All right, let's knock out 2 of these super chats. I put in here, ATX Bay, both for $4.99. So Catch, first one. He's got his Christmas list for you, Catch. What do you think?
Well, look, Justice Hayes is going to the NFL, right? Like that guy. I think if we think Trey Wisner's got a decision make, trust me, Justice Haynes, who I love, by the way. I thought Haynes was the best running back in the C.J. Baxter class back then when that group was coming out. Cam Coleman changes this entire Texas offense. He does it the way Xavier Worthy changed the team's offense. He scares the living crap out of every just by walking onto the field. He is immediately the guy that the entire defense goes, where's he going? What's he doing? And when you're having to worry about what a 4-3 guy is doing on every play, just because everybody is afraid of the fear of God. That's the one thing that speed can do that nothing else in football can quite do. The fear that overcomes a man when they know, I can't run with that dude. It causes powerful, strong, confident men to react in fear. Texas doesn't have a guy like that. They just don't. If you put that on this offense, everything else gets better. Arch gets better. The running game gets better. The other receivers get better. That guy, you could even have Brendan Thompson out there, old Stonehands himself out there. They just didn't have that type of profile. A guy that, hey, we're going to have him run deep. 40 times in a game. And you know what? It's going to occupy the safety the entire game because the one time they don't, Art's going to kill them and throw it over the top for a touchdown. They are not going to let us have that. How many times have we seen Iowa State show up on defense and just decide nobody's throwing the ball over the top today? Now what are you going to do? Okay, well, we're going to throw it short and just let that guy run for 70 yards. They don't have a guy that can do all of that stuff. And I don't know. The problem is there are only a handful of Cam Colemans in college football, and programs like Auburn will be motivated to make sure if Cam Coleman leaves Auburn, it won't be for the most amount of money. Texas will offer Cam Coleman $3 million. Auburn will match. It'll have to come down to, does Cam Coleman want to go somewhere else more than he wants to make the most amount of money? Because my guess is that both for Michigan and for Auburn, they can probably make certainly Cam Coleman. I don't know about how could we possibly talk about Michigan at this point? But I know this: Haynes is expected to be a top 3 round draft pick. Michigan, that's millions plural. We talked about that. That is, you got to come up with $5 million ish to like justify a guy bypassing a 2nd round draft pick or a third round draft pick grade. The current climate in college football exists really to keep 4th and above. You can keep those guys. Justifiably, you can pay them more money they could probably get in their at least in year 1 of their first NFL contract. Beyond that, it gets to be pretty tricky.
And then the other super chat that came in there.
Well, what was the best Christmas present you ever got?
I don't remember. I don't. There's nothing in my working memory that I look back and say like I don't have one. I'd have to think. There's nothing I can think of.
I think I have a top 3 off the top of my head.
Top 3? Wow. Go.
Look, one year my mom bought me. I was a big baseball card collector, and I think this was probably like 1988 ish. Okay. She bought me the complete 1986 Donruss set. And the thing about that is it had a Jose Canseco rookie card. And that was like $100 card. And I got the entire set. That was pretty awesome. I remember one year I got Castle Grayskull, and I used to collect He-Man. So I liked having Castle Grayskull for the big Snake Mountain Castle Grayskull He-Man action figure battle. And then one year, my mom got me like this little 5-inch TV that I could have in my bedroom. But they didn't make big screen TVs back then. I felt privileged to just have something that something could be seen on. And that was like the year after I got the Donruss baseball set. So from 12, 1 year though. The worst Christmas gift I ever got, my dad sends me this box, huge box. And I convinced, because he was like a big dude at Apple. Like he's very well known. He's very successful in the computer industry. He was around back in the beginning. And so I had this big box. It was like the first Christmas gift I was ever getting from my father. And I thought, there's a computer in there. And my mom was like, there's not a computer in there. But I worked it up in my head at 8 years old that my dad had sent me a computer because he's in computers. So why wouldn't dad give me a computer? My mom's like, it's not a computer. It's not a computer. You need to stop thinking that that's a computer. But I convinced myself it's a computer. I opened it up on Christmas Day. Come on, Dad, give me the computer. It was a box of balls. There was a basketball in there, and there was a football was in there. There was a soccer ball, and I think a tennis ball, and maybe a baseball.
So his secretary got you those gifts, essentially.
It was a precursor to the big fuck you to my dad that ultimately will exist for the rest of my life. I got it at 8 from him to me, not vice versa. He was like, here you go, kid. Here's some balls. Go knock yourself out. Go play in the street.
All right, let's get this last one done.
You don't
Temperature.
have a worse Christmas present? Is this a white thing?
Dude, I don't remember what I got for Christmas 3 years ago.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm over here like reciting birthday gifts from when I was a kid, and you're like, I don't know, man.
I don't think it's a white thing or anything like that. I
also got engaged on Christmas Day, so that could be my answer as well. Like, I got my future wife and the mother of my children.
Oh, well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I have Christmas memories, and I remember things that I had as a child. I just don't necessarily remember what was on a Christmas day or not. Like, I mean, I think I may have got like a Commodore 64 on a Christmas day back then. Like that comes to memory at some point.
What toys did you play with? Like, what did you play with as a child?
Oh, well, I had a ton of toys.
Like, what was your thing though? Like, what were you, G.I. Joe?
G.I. Joe for sure.
Transformers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And what was that? The Voltron one too. I think I got that on a Christmas where you got all the ones that you had to put together, and then it formed the thing. So I do remember, not as we're talking, I do remember getting a Voltron. And
I hope your mom does not watch this video, because she could be like, boy, do you know how much money and how much effort I went into to buy them presents, and now you can't even remember what I bought?
Like, I don't. You know what sucks? This is what sucks now as a dad, because I've scaled back a little bit this year, because, dude, I get my kids, like, they get caked out. They're fun. And they like open it and it's really cool. Then they get back on their iPads and I'm like, yo, what the hell? It's just sitting there. I literally, so then I go and put it in a Christmas bag. And I put it up in their room. I'm like, hey, put your toys in the room. I got to get the stuff out the living room. Next thing you know, it's like months. It's still sitting there. I literally this year went under their beds, because they have like loft beds, and got some of their gifts. And I just re-gifted it to other people because it was unopened. So as long as I get them a Roblox gift card, they're probably okay. But outside of that, like, they're
you should put it into the tree this year? Groceries. I got you something I know you'll actually use.
Everything else, I'm like, so Max is cool. If it's soccer related, he's going to use it. Titan is like, so I re-gifted.
You're like, pork chops. How'd you know, Dad?
I'm gonna get
a pound of ground sirloin. We're gonna eat good tonight.
I'm gonna get them the spices that Alex and Cody make. Like, that's gonna be like a gift for them. Like, here's something for your dry rub, kids. Like, that's what it is. Hey, Catch, let's knock this out, because I really I do have a question. Two questions I want to get to. Temperature of the boosters regarding the Arch era ending with no championship. Up? Is it up? Also, time to make the schedule easy and play on the front end, because I don't have any boosters that have gone to whatever that DEFCON is. That I don't have anybody worried about Arch not being in the no championships. Have you sensed that?
No, I haven't had that brought up at all. I think there's, I think it's much bigger picture than like about a specific player. I look, I have talked to an affluent mega booster who I've heard some of his complaints and displeasures, but never framed in a way that they're wasting Arch. Now, I do think a big part of that comes from, we saw the story that came out last week where Arch wasn't going, or was taking a reduce, or was taking no actual football revenue money from Texas this year, or a reduced number, or whatever it is. Well, he's not like the Underwood kid at Michigan. I mean, he's getting some money from Texas, but just like Quinn Ewers, most of what they eat, they kill. Like Quinn, if I understood correctly, had a private quarterback coach paid for, and I think his rent or like housing, I think, is what Texas took care of. So when it was all said and done, I don't know how much all that adds up to, but let's just like a couple $100,000 or something like that, if even that. But it was a small amount because Quinn was making some bank, but that was all bank that he and his family got and his agents got. And I think that if it were the other way around, even Quinn would be viewed differently. If they had to pay Quinn Ewers $8 million a year, suddenly the level, I think, of the critical eye with which everybody would have viewed that would have been completely different. I think we're seeing it with quarterbacks who have been paid lots of money. And then when they haven't delivered the goods, it's viewed through the dude, we just paid you X amount of dollars. What WTF? Texas will eventually get to a point where they got to pay millions on war to a quarterback out of revenue share or something. Yeah. But I don't think that anxiety. Look, I'll give you an example. I heard more anxiety from an important booster about Ryan Wingo than about Arch Manning. And the context was completely based around the notion of this guy was supposed to be a number one receiver. He's paid like a number one receiver. For most of the season, he didn't deliver like a number one receiver. They were pissed about that. Or at least one person that I spoke with was pissed about that, with indications that he wasn't alone. But never this.
Okay.
I gave him $5 worth of an answer, I think.
Yeah, more than that.
That was like a $10 answer. So
it's pretty good.
You owe me $5.
That was Christmas. It's Christmas spirit. You gave.
Oh.
Okay, so two things we're gonna get out of here. What do you make of, now that you alluded to it a little bit, what do you make of A&M's and Oklahoma's seasons where they make the playoffs, but they're out in the first round?
Well, I think A&M should be a playoff team. I think they've been I've said this a million times on the show that I do with Chad. They have a top 10 roster in the sport. And up until this season, the last couple of years, they've had a top 5 roster in the sport, which, man, if you're not making the playoffs, and this happened in Texas this year. Man, if you got a top 5 roster in the sport and you're not making the playoffs, you have not lived up to expectations.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, a little bit less than that, but I think there are only about 7 or 8 programs in the country that have more talent, raw talent, than Oklahoma does. You know, it gets pretty thin once you get outside of the top 5, 6. Once you get kind of beyond A&M and LSU, you kind of hit a drop, and suddenly there's not a gulf between teams in terms of talent. They need more. It's for them to take the next steps. They've got to get the next steps are really hard because you got to beat really, really good teams. And I thought Oklahoma looked flawed and weak on offense, and they're going to have to replace. They have a lot to do. They're going to lose a lot of that defense, and they got to get better everywhere at running back. For instance, you know who needs a running back? Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. If Oklahoma ain't spending $1.5 million on a running back in the portal, they should be competing with Texas for everybody. And if they can't go get one of those guys, then they just need to stop thinking of themselves as a program that needs to even be thinking about national championships. And A&M's not a lot different. The good news for them, they got a real building block with the wide receiver unit that they have. Getting Casey Concepcion to come back instead of going to the pros, big win for them. But running back, quarterback, offensive coordinator, whole offensive ideology. Mike Elko, on some level, both he and Venables have to think about who they really want to be as head coaches, because I think their visions of their ideologies as teams, but I wonder if that only gets you so far. Stoops' defense this year was not Stoops, but Venables' defense this year was incredible, really game-changing. And they're pretty far away from a national championship.
All right. You watched Jake Paul this weekend?
Accidentally.
Okay.
I thought Netflix was charging extra for that fight.
Uh-huh.
But at about 10:30, was it Friday night?
Yes.
I went to watch something else on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, watch the fight. And I was like, it's free? So I clicked on it. And I watched like the last 2 rounds. And I thought everything you said about the fight was right. I think Jake Paul, look, say what you want to about Jake Paul. And I think you can say a lot of things. But my man can take a punch. I am not going to suggest that man does not have a strong jaw, even if it's broke. What I would say, and I think this needs to be the lesson. I feel like in a few years from now, when the contracts expire and there's like NDAs that expire or whatever,
yeah,
Anthony Joshua will be able to tell someone, yeah, man, I know I whooped his ass, but like I pulled my punches. Like he is known as one of the hardest punchers in the sport. And he was love tapping him at times. Yes. Where I thought, if that's a full Anthony Joseph right hand, that dude ain't eating for 26, like the entirety of 2026. So yeah. I thought, I was glad it ended with a no doubt about it. Let's not pretend that Jake Paul deserves to be in a boxing ring. The idea that ever happened is crazy. On some level, I did need Anthony Joseph, though. Joshua, sorry. Just one time, hit that dude as hard as you hit a heavyweight so that the next time anybody wants to get a lion and a tiger in a ring together just to see what happens, we can remember when Joshua literally killed his ass in the ring? Not metaphorically speaking, like some dudes aren't meant to get hit like that. And he got hit like that, and he like Apollo Creed in the ring. Sometimes you just need something scary to happen. You know what didn't happen at the end of Rocky IV? No more goddamn exhibition bouts with old-ass heavyweight champions against Russians in their prime. That never happened again. The Las Vegas Athletic Commission was like, no, we ain't ever sanctioning.
No.
That never gets to happen again.
No.
And there was a part of me that watched, they're going to run this back somehow, some way, and I'll still have Jake Paul as a conversation topic in 2026 to look forward to. I don't know who it's going to be. He'll fight somebody. It'll be on Netflix, and you're going to ask me on the Monday afterwards, did I watch the Jake Paul fight? And I'm going to go, you know what? Accidentally, I did. Yes.
He could have finished that fight in 30 seconds if he wanted to. Like he literally could have done the old Mike Tyson days where he's just like, yeah, let's just get out of here. I got a party with Tupac that I got to get to, so let me go ahead and do this.
I've just seen Joshua fight enough times. I know what it looks like when he lets it go. I mean, the dude's throwing just hammers.
Yes. You saw his arms? You saw his arms, dude?
I watched that and I wondered, are there people who are thinking that, like, I thought Jake Paul gave a really good account for himself, but I'm grading it with a huge curve. Because like you said, let me put it to you like this. If there had been a $50 million bounty on either a 30-second knockout or Jake Paul dying in the ring, Joshua could have killed him.
Yeah.
And in the 6th round, he was like, I'm trying to get this over with, but I'm also not trying to put this dude in a freaking vegetated state. And that's got to be hard if you're Joshua. You're like, dude, stick your tongue. Like you know what? A man only sticks his tongue out at a man that's whooping his ass if he knows that other man's got charity in his heart. Because I just kept thinking to myself, you know, dude, if you keep doing that, the last one may really be punishing. And it wasn't. It wasn't. In the end, it ended the way it probably needed to.
They told him he couldn't do anything until the 5th or the 6th round. Because basically, or it might have been the 6th. Because literally when he's like, oh, so I can throw punches now. So
the ref was talking mess to him.
Yes. He was like, okay. But it's almost like when the 6th round started, and he was like, okay, and my NDA says and by the 6th round, I can box. Okay, cool. But if I do it beforehand and knock him out beforehand, I don't get this amount of money. 6th round, he's like, okay, cool. Crack, crack. And it's like, it's like, all right, I could have done now I get my full check, right? And so that's all that was.
I'm telling you, but even then, those things are coming in at like 40%. Anybody that ever wants to know when people used to talk about stuff like, would you take $1 million to let Mike Tyson like punch you? And it's like, punch you?
Mm.
No, no, God, no. Like, seriously, like it's a hell of a thing that those dudes program themselves to take the shots from other men that they do, because that is not stuff normal mortals walk away from.
Yeah.
A jab.
Correct. Yes.
90% of the men in the world go down unconscious with a clean jab. These dudes are just taking these haymakers. I don't say that about Jake Paul. He did take a couple of shots where and you know what? So did Joshua. Paul got him clean in the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, oh damn, you just made him mad because Anthony Joshua has been hit like that before.
Can I give you a quick boxing story real quick and we'll go? So in my 20s, well, way skinnier than I am now, right? Way skinnier. I was a stick, right? And I got into boxing. I went to a gym and I started training professionally, like with professional. So I would literally, I just want to do it to get it for exercise. So best shape of my life. I would jog 3 miles and then go. But because of my height and my weight, and I actually had real good power in my right hand, there was these trainers who were like, hey man, have you ever thought of this? Like you really could do this, right? So I started, I'm working the mids, I'm working everything, the heavy bag, and like all of a sudden people started noticing. They're like, man, you should. So the guy told me, hey, I started training. I'm looking good. I'm feeling good, everything. So he took me down. He's like, a Saturday morning. He's like, hey, I'm going to introduce you to people and I want you to watch a sparring match, right? So I went and watched the sparring match in person, Catch, right? And again, I'm 6'2", like 140 something, right? So they're like, with your jab and your reach and your power, you could do something. I sat and watched a sparring match in person. And now, granted, I'm more out of college. I'm a high school reporter. I looked at that thing. I was like, oh, hell no. Hell no. I saw this dude. He had his nose busted up. He's snotting out blood and everything. I was like, wait a second. So they just do this for practice? Like they're just practicing getting hit before you don't know how many times you got to get hit for practice before you ever step in the ring? I was like, no. So anyway, I was like, I ain't doing this shit. So second boxing story is this. So then I'm still training and working out, right? But then I go and see there's a fight that's in Tampa. Tarver's fighting some. Anyway, I had a mutual friend who knew Floyd Mayweather Sr., the dad, right? And so, Catch, I'll never forget this. So he and I were like, there was this woman he was talking to down in Tampa, so on and so forth. And then he kept relaying messages back to Floyd. So I finally got to meet Senior in person. So me and Senior are talking, and it's fun. And I was like, yeah, see. So I started joking with Senior. I was like, man, yeah, you don't want to see me, Senior. You don't want to see me. He's like, let me see what you got. So I started doing like, right? He's like, you're too slow. And I was like, what do you mean I'm too slow? Catch, this dude threw, I don't know how many punches within a few inches of my nose before I can blink twice.
Yeah, man.
It was a flood. And he was like, you're too slow. I was like, oh, shit.
I went to high school with this kid who was a Golden Gloves champion. And I once saw him not even look at a guy and throw a punch. And I didn't see his hand move. He just was talking to a person like this and punched sideways and knocked the dude unconscious and never broke like eye contact and conversation with the person he was talking with. And like, I swear I never saw his hand move. And I was like, oh, goddamn.
Yes.
And that dude weighed like 135 pounds. And I was like, oh no. Let me tell you what I have always done. Respect fighters.
Yes. Dude. And like, when you see it in person, you have a TV does no justification of how fast and powerful those punches really come. It's crazy. All right, I know we gotta go.
Right.
But
Guys, Rogue Shop, get you some Northern Lights like this. It's not an accident that the package is empty, or that I've got like 50 of them over here next to me to my right. Go check out Rogue Shop. I was on the website just a second ago. The advent calendars, pain, anxiety, sleeplessness, all the things that you miss, that you need, they can help you with that. Anwar knows it's Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Get the hookup at Rogue Shop today. Support our partners and our friends and the people that we love at one of our favorite businesses going today. They've been with us ride or die from the very beginning. For myself, for Anwar Richardson, for Specs, who's been sponsoring the chat, and for Rogue Shop for doing Rogue Shop things. Guys, have a fantastic Monday. I'll see you in a little while. Do the noon show. Have a Merry Christmas and a great week.